Before there were books, movies, or legends written down, there were nights like this, when a single voice by the fire held a whole band in its hands.
The day behind them had been hard. The hunt failed. Tempers snapped. Fear walked among them like an unseen animal. When a band feels itself starting to fray, there are many things it can do. One of the oldest is also the simplest. Call for a story.
Tonight, that task falls to a woman whose voice can make people forget their aching legs and empty stomachs. For a little while.
She is not the strongest hunter, nor the best tracker. But in a world held together by shared belief, her skill may be just as important. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherers find that good storytellers are often more trusted, more liked, and more likely to receive help.
Stories, it turns out, are not just decoration. They are tools for cooperation, wrapped in rhythm and memory.
Tonight, the band needs that tool. They need to remember who they are when the hunt goes badly and the future feels thin.
She begins not with once upon a time, but with a name everyone knows. The name of an ancestor whose story has been told many times before.
In small societies, famous heroes and fools are like shared software. Everyone knows their stories. Everyone carries their lessons. She tells of a time when this ancestor faced a problem much like theirs. Empty days, thinning herds, tempers flaring like dry grass. But in her story, the ancestor did something the band has not yet done. He called everyone together, not to blame, but to listen.
He asked each hunter what they had seen, where tracks grew faint, where the wind carried new smells, where the land itself seemed to be shifting.
He listened to the gatherers too, where fruit had failed, where roots were smaller, where strange plants had begun to appear. By the end of the night, the ancestor had turned many small, scattered observations into one thing: a plan to move.
As she speaks, the band begins to lean forward. This is not just a distant myth. It is a mirror held up to their own uneasy days.
Good storytellers do this across cultures. They take old, familiar tales and bend them slightly toward whatever the group is facing now. In her version, the ancestor does not only move the band, he also stops them from turning on each other when fear makes easy targets. She describes how he shared out the last of the meat, not equally, but according to need. More to the weak, enough to keep the strong moving. In this way, the story quietly teaches a rule. Fairness is not always sameness. It is whatever keeps the band alive together. The band hears about arguments that nearly split the ancestor's group, and how he turned insults into jokes, jokes into shared laughter. Researchers working with hunter-gatherers today find that stories rich in cooperation and fairness are told more often, and their tellers are valued more highly. This is not an accident. Stories that praise sharing and punish selfishness help groups survive, and so those stories survive too. Around this fire, children who were angry at each other in the afternoon now sit shoulder to shoulder, following the same voice through the same imagined world. For a moment, hunger, fear, and old grudges loosen their grip. The band becomes what every story needs.
The woman's story does not stay in the past. Slowly, almost without the band noticing, she begins to slide it closer to their own lives.
She mentions a hunter in the ancestors' band who always walked alone, who grumbled at sharing, who blamed others when his throws went wide.
The listeners know someone like that. Every band does. But she never uses the name that would shatter the spell and turn the story into an attack.
Instead, she lets the story do the work. In it, the difficult hunter has a choice: keep taking or step closer to the circle. On the night when the ancestor must decide whether to keep him, the band does what bands have always done. They tell stories about him as if he is not there. They recall his failures louder than his successes, his selfish moments more than his generous ones. Reputation tilts, little by little, with every word.
This, too, is law in action. Not in written verdicts, but in stories told when someone's back is turned.
In her tale, the difficult hunter hears these stories. He realizes that his name is becoming a warning, not a blessing. So he changes. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough that, in the next hard season, people remember his help more than his hunger.
As she speaks, the man in the real band who shares his worst traits feels the edge of the story press against him.
But the story offers him a path. If a man in the past could step closer to the circle, perhaps he can too.
This is the quiet power of a good storyteller. She can make change feel like joining a hero, not losing a fight.
Scientists who study hunter-gatherer tales find that the most popular stories are not about lone warriors. They are about groups that stay together. Night after night, those stories work like gentle rain on hard ground, wearing channels for cooperation to flow through. Tonight, the woman does something else storytellers have always done. She mixes truth and imagination so tightly that no one can say where one ends and the other begins. She describes storms that did happen, animals that do exist, and journeys their grandparents really walked. But she also adds things no one has seen. A river spirit who notices who shares. A wind that whispers the names of cowards. These additions do not replace practical rules. They wrap them in a feeling that the world itself cares whether the band does the right thing. Slowly, the mood around the fire changes. Faces that were tight with frustration begin to soften. A few smiles appear at familiar lines.
Children mouth the words of favorite parts before she says them. Like a song they never quite stop humming.
In the dim light, this might look like simple entertainment. But experiments suggest something deeper is happening here.
Groups who share stories that praise cooperation tend to share more in real life, even with strangers, than those who hear only neutral tales.
For our ancestors, this meant that a good storyteller could tilt the band slightly away from selfishness and toward survival, night after night.
The woman by this fire may not know any of that in words. She knows only that when people listen together, they wake up different.
Tomorrow, when the band walks out again into a dangerous world, they will still carry hunger and fear, but they will also carry this shared night inside them. As the story stretches on, the night around them seems to shrink. The darkness at the edges feels farther away, the fire more like a small, steady sun.
The woman shifts into a new tale now, one the children especially love. It is about the first time their people learn to hunt together properly.
In this story, a young hunter keeps charging in alone, chasing animals too early, scattering herds and wasting everyone's strength. The others are angry, but the ancestor in the tale does not only shout. He turns the mistake into a lesson the band can carry. He compares the band to a net, strong when all its strands pull together, useless when each thread goes its own way. The story shows how they practice moving as one. Silent signals, patient waiting, sudden rushes on a shared count. By the time the tale ends, the young hunter is no longer a hero for charging alone. The hero is the net they became together. When the children of the real band later stalk through tall grass, they will carry this image in their minds, a picture of what hunting right looks like.
Story after story tonight redraws the same lines. Share, listen, move together. Do not let fear turn you into an animal that can only see itself.
Researchers argue that storytelling among hunter-gatherers is not a luxury that appears after survival is secured. It is one of the ways survival is secured. In some groups, the best storytellers are given more chances to eat, more protection, even more partners. They are rewarded not for force, but for words. This might seem strange in a harsh world, but it makes sense. A story that keeps the group from breaking is as valuable as any spear. The woman by the fire does not call herself storyteller. To her, this is simply what nights are for.
As the embers sink lower, she turns finally to a smaller story, a gentler one, about a child who feared the dark.
In the story, the child believes the dark is full of hungry eyes, but an elder shows them something else.